So a hustling, busy city. We flew into the airport and it took us about 2 hours to get out this way. So very big city, and we're still in Jakarta East. So here's the men's Madison final start list. We have a big lineup: Italy, Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, Japan, New Zealand and Portugal. Unfortunately, Team GB crashed out of their qualifying, so we're waiting to hear back about how Ollie Wood is doing, so that's a big shame for them. They would have been big contenders out here today.
Yeah, in that qualifying round when Ollie crashed, he got up pretty quickly, but you could just see the awkwardness in his stance. He was in a lot of pain and then eventually just sat back down again. So his initial response was, I've crashed, I've got to get back into this race as quick as I can, and then realised after he stood up that something wasn't quite right. He was in an enormous amount of pain. So best wishes to Oliver Wood. The Austrians getting themselves out onto the track, and it's Max Schmidbauer and Tim Waffler.
Van Schip.
Tallest man in the Madison is Van Schip. You'll see him once he gets out there. He really does stand out up above the peloton.
28-year-old from Holland.
Riding with an incredibly experienced Madison rider in Juri Harvik, the World Points Race champion. But Harvik is one of the top contenders in the European Winter 6-day series over the years. He's won many of those Madison-based races. So he's a very experienced rider. There he is, Juri Harvik. Yep. So he's the World Points Race champ. He's great on his own, but he's exceptional in an event like this. Great tactician.
Both Juri and Willem were the European champions in 2021. So they're used to riding together. Last-minute adjustments to the saddle for Spain.
Benassar and Mortarel. And the New Zealand team, they'll certainly be contenders here. Aaron Gate, and we just saw on camera with Campbell Stewart. So they are a great combination.
Silver in the team pursuit already this week. Campbell was also silver in the Omnium. So yes, they're also quite used to riding together. 9th at the World Champs this year, but I have a feeling there's going to be more to come from them.
Really nervous at the start of the Madison because they know how important the opening few laps are. It's so easy to get caught behind bad changes. And
yeah, so for our viewers that aren't sure what a Madison is, Olympic champion Scott McGrory, for those that don't know, can you tell us what is the Madison?
Well, the Madison itself, the name comes from where it was first conducted, which was at Madison Square Garden in New York City. First time they ever put the two-man team race together. And then from then on, it was just known as the Madison. Everyone used to go to the Garden to watch the Madison, and it has stuck. Two-man team, one rider is in the race at one particular time, while the other rider rides slowly around the track, and then they'll drop down from the top of the track, put their hand out, and they'll do a hand sling to do the changeover. Like a relay in athletics, but without the baton, because that could get stuck in the front wheel if you had a baton in a bike race. And that's how they do their changeover. It's roughly 2.5 laps or so that they'll spend in the race at each time. Every 10 laps, they'll have a sprint for points, 5, 3, 2, and 1. Double points for the final sprint, 10, 6, 4, and 2. Take a lap on the field, 20 points get added to the tally. It is fast, it is furious, and sometimes it looks incredibly hectic, and it's my favourite race.
There you go. I like that explanation. Thank you, Scott. But yes, it can get very hectic, so once again, we're going to try our best to keep on top of it for you all. There'll be one rider in the race at all times, one rider out. That's why you've got a group here on the front straight and a group on the back. Once the gun goes, the riders will go past those on the back straight, and then they will slowly fan out and work out where they want to come into the race. So some teams like to change early before a sprint. Some teams like to change later and go for laps. So lots of different tactics out there.
We did just see a glimpse of one of the riders from the Indonesian team. So Kasuma and Van Aert from Indonesia in the race. So it's fantastic. We'll hear a big roar from the crowd whenever the Indonesians are doing something in this race. And let's hope, fingers crossed, and wish them the best luck, that they can give themselves a good result. The Omnium champion from yesterday, Tobias Hansen from Denmark, and gee, Denmark has a rich history in this race. He'll be riding with Robin Skivelt.
Yep, Denmark won the Olympic Games, not with this two. These two are quite young, 20 and 21. So they'll be very inspired by the Olympic gold medal ride. There's the teammate.
So the partner, as the race gets underway with one rider in the peloton, their partners now, with the gun fired, are allowed to come off the fence in the back straight, some choosing to come off straight away, others choosing to stay there and let them come past the first time. It does get hectic, the first change. If everybody starts at the same time in the back straight, it's a real scramble to find your partner and do the initial hand change. So I'm pleased to see so many of the teams splitting it, coming in at different times. First change on the front of the peloton, that's Austria.
One team we haven't spoken about are the Germans.
Roger Kluge and Theo Reinhardt, 2 times world champion. We saw Kluge in the Omnium, and he didn't look as good as we would have been expecting. But in the Madison, it's a different scenario. And both those riders, they've had so many victories before, great experience. So look out for the Germans. They're sitting just coming to camera there. Roger Kluge is the taller of the 2 of the men in the German colours.
And in the bright blue, second wheel, we have the Italian team of Michele Scartazzini and Francesco Lamon. So they were 4th in the World Championships, the recent World Champs last year. So they know what they're doing, so keep an eye on them as we see Hashimoto from Japan go over the top of the peloton. So
Team Bridgestone.
They're going for a change, so you'll see Hashimoto reach out, grab his partner's hand and slingshot him in.
Naoki Kojima from the Bridgestone team now coming into the action. We talk about the Italians. Francesco Lamon, he's an Olympic champion in the team pursuit, one of the greatest team pursuit competitions I've ever witnessed, let alone commentated. Incredible to see how fast the Italians went to get the win over Denmark. Australia getting the bronze, and New Zealand it was getting 4th, but so much happened throughout that competition. It's the kind of stuff we can expect to see in Paris 2024. 193 laps to go, the first of the intermediate sprints, not too far away, and they really fire up for these sprints much earlier than you see in individual races. The 2-man relay type format of a Madison means they have to get into position really early on, and that's what they'll be doing now, fighting for position as they come around to get the bell for the first time. New Zealand going really early. That's what you have to do in the Madison. Aaron Gate down the back straight, absolutely trying to look for his partner, Campbell Stewart. And there's the change. Stewart comes in, looks over the shoulder, see who's coming. Yuri Harvick from the Netherlands trying to come up around the outside.
Wow,
big hand change from Harvick, off and skip, and he flies over the top of Campbell Stewart. 5 points will go to the Netherlands. Good way to start proceedings for them, just in front of New Zealand. Haven't eased off either. Yuri Harvick kept going.
No, as he swings up the track now, so they'll look around, they'll see, hey, how many gap? Have we got a bit of a gap? Do we want to continue on with this? Do we want to split it up a little bit? So Portugal comes underneath, Campbell straight on that wheel, and Japan is out in front as well. So there's a little group of 3 there, but I think still early stages. Everybody getting settled in after that first sprint.
And with the hand changes, when they happen at sprint speed, the peloton really does start to stretch. So if you keep the gas on a little bit after the sprints, you can put a lot of people in the peloton under extreme pressure, having to bridge those gaps. And you can see now, only after a couple of laps, 3 laps after the sprint, the back half of the peloton only now starting to actually bunch back up again.
That's it. When you do a change, you'll see that 2 riders come together, which means that if you're behind, it means you have to go around 2 people, not just 1. So if there are multiple changes, often the riders have to go all the way around at the top of the track to get around. So as you say, if you're out of position, you can move backwards very quickly. So it's always important to stay close to the front, stay in control and ahead of the game. Starting to ease off now. You can see it is bunching up. We have Denmark coming around the outside. They didn't like their position at the start, so they're moving up. 185 to go, 5 laps till the next sprint.
So they're all desperate trying to be on the front of the peloton, but not wanting to waste energy pushing the wind. So as soon as they back off a little bit, with all the desperation that's in the field, riders from behind coming around the outside, and there's this washing machine effect of riders from the back knowing they have to get to the front, so they're fighting all the time. And that sort of changes a little bit as you get a bit further down into the race, and a really tricky situation for some of the teams getting messed up in some of the changes as well. 183 laps to go, so next sprint not too far away. This is the fastest by far, actually, of all of the bunch races because of the relay effect. And you can see now as they're starting to fight for position to get ready for the next sprint. Czech Republic it is that's going to go 3 wide around the outside, change from Denmark, Belgium on the wheel as well.
Yeah, Hestes and De Wilde from Belgium, they'll have grown up doing Madisons. Literally from as soon as they were born, they will be so prepared for this. So the combination of Hestes and De Wilde, they are in second wheel now, coming in for the sprint as the Germans come around the top. So Kluger taking on Belgium.
And Japan 3 wide as well, but Roger Kluger it is that gets to the final bend first, and he should have enough speed and momentum to come up with the 5 points. Belgium holding on for 3 points. They just did a change slightly too late, Belgium, to maximise the time advantage to get the sprint points there. Kluger using his experience to make sure they got the maximum 5 points on that sprint. That's 2 intermediate sprints down, 179 laps to go.
Yep, so Kluger's just slung in Reinhardt, his teammate, a 32-year-old. So they are a very strong combination. As you said before, 2-time world champion. They've been around for a while, partnered up many, many years, multiple world medalists. As Denmark swings up, Italy on the front now.
Scartazzini, Michela. And you can see the riders that are out of the race there, just going high on the track, trying to ride as slow as they possibly can so they don't leave their partners in the fast peloton for too long. It's really important. The deeper you go into the race and the more efforts you have to make, you don't want to leave your partner in that fast-moving peloton for too long. It's just it burns them up. The Australians coming up around the outside. That's Blake Agneletto going into second position.
Yep, they're a young team from Australia. Oliver Bledden partnered with Blake Agneletto, so they'll be here to gain as much experience as they can. They had a great qualifying ride, learned a lot. These are the things even though it's a qualifying ride, you've got to make sure you get through that qualification. You can still learn so much from this. So great to see our young boys out here having a crack.
This is a race. When I spoke with both Ollie and Blake yesterday, and I had 15 things in my head I wanted to tell them. And then you think, no, you just can't. You give them maybe 2 or 3 because there's just so much to absorb and understand and learn. The only way to do it is to come out here and do these races. And every time you do a race, it's an enormous amount of information that you're able to calculate and take forward.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they've just been given 2 or 3 things. It's like stay in the top 5, be in good position, or do a change at this point before the sprint. Like, got to keep it simple. These races are more fatiguing, I'd say, mentally than they are physically. So always attentive, knowing where your partner is, knowing when to swing up, watching the wheels in front of you, not just in the race, but behind the race. It's just, it's a crazy, crazy event.
Czech Republic down the back straight. They'll come around to get the bell this time. The Australians made their change a lap ago, so they're not quite getting the timing right to maximise the chances of going for these points. Agneletto now in second position, just needs to hold the wheel. Czech Republic going down the back straight. You can see how much they've strung out. Netherlands in third place. They've already won a sprint. Flick up the track from Agneletto, and he will pick up 5 points on the front for the Czech Republic. Australia in second, and the Dutch, the Netherlands, in third place. So that's great considering they've already won a sprint. They will extend their overall lead here.
Yep, so this is where it can get exciting. So you want to sprint, but you also don't want to go too hard because someone might hit out from behind and start to take a lap. So you want to make sure you're in with that group. So here we have a group of 6, and a little bit of a gap back to Switzerland. So they'll be aiming to close that up, but it's looking pretty tame at the moment. No one's really making a move to go off the front.
But again, Nettie, we can see at the back of the peloton how the gaps are still there. All the teams that sprinted then have been resting for the last lap or lap and a half or so, while teams further back, they've done nothing wrong other than be too far back before the sprint. And the penalty they pay, they have to bridge all those gaps for the next couple of laps after each of those sprints. Huge amount of effort to do so, and over a long race like this, it does come back to bite you later on. Slow motion of the hand slings.
Yep, Kiwis and the Aussies at the same time. Campbell Flakemore moving in for Team New Zealand.
Poetry in motion.
That's it. There you go. Exchanging pace. So you have to lock in before you grab your partner's hand. Otherwise, you'll pull them off the bike. So both of these boys here are switching on. They know exactly what type of change they like to do. They do these time and time again in training. And there's different ways to do it as well. Some people push early. Some people are smooth on the way back. So it takes a lot of time and practice with your teammate and making sure you're well drilled before you come into a race, because that's the last thing you want to think about when you're out there.
Well, those slow motion hand change is so good to demonstrate the action of it, because most people think that you are actually reaching out and grabbing with your hand your opponent, your teammate I should say, but it's not. You're reaching right around and they grab a hold of you. So it is definitely much more of a sling than a throw.
Is this a move from the Kiwis?
It's a big move from New Zealand, and 162 laps to go.
This is before the sprint, so that's Aaron Gain on the front. He has started to open up a gap, and it's growing. It's growing. So as he comes around in half a lap, he'll get the bell for the sprint. Campbell Floatball coming in now.
Campbell Stewart look over the shoulder, and he's got enough of a gap to make sure that he gets the 5 points here. They're not going to be able to close that down. There is a real race behind, but Stewart will pick up the 5 points. He can ease off a little bit here as well, save some energy. And Germany, Theo Reinhardt it was that came across for 3 points. Remember, they have already won a sprint, the Germans, so that's great for the overall standings for them. Germany versus the Netherlands, really fighting it out. And now with New Zealand in the mix, the strongest teams are starting to come to the front.
Yeah, it's quite interesting how fast that gap did close back down. I'm not sure if it was a test, but now it's all back together.
Good effort from Aaron Gate, though, to go early before the sprint. It's the first team to really hit out several laps before the sprint to get an advantage. Big effort from him. For Campbell Stewart, he had enough of a gap that he could ease off a little bit and save energy. You don't want to waste energy going for those sprints. But then you don't want to hold back either. They'll get 156 laps to go. Germany leading the way on 9 points. New Zealand putting themselves up there in second place on 8. The Netherlands only 1 point behind them. Belgium, Czech Republic right up there as well, with a couple of sprint wins by those teams as well. Denmark down a bit further with only the 1 point, and it's Belgium now, which we know how good they are in Madison racing. They've grown up doing this type of racing, but they've got to get the timing right, and they have to have the speed and ability to make sure they get these points.
That was Lindsay de Wilde from Belgium's just swinging up. He won the scratch race in Omnium yesterday. I think he finished about 4th. Married last week. Oh, I love this fact. I think it's funny. He was on his honeymoon at a bike race.
Won the Omnium scratch race, put that to his palmares, and got married as well.
Yep.
Well, he was leading the Omnium competition going into the final event, the point race, and unfortunately faded off the podium. I did chat to the mechanic, Ken Illigams from Belgium today, and he said he was really surprised by that. They weren't expecting him to fade. I asked the question, is he more of a sprinter type? And he is fast, but they were expecting him to go a little bit deeper into that point race, so they were a bit surprised by that. Yuri Harvick from the Netherlands coming up around the outside. Germany, so two of the teams that are really fighting for the overall win here. They'll get the bell the next time around. So Harvick has gone really early for this sprint. He'll be searching for Van Skip. He's about to come into view right now, and there's the change with 1 lap to go. So Germany and the Netherlands both changing at exactly the same time. Van Skip versus Reinhardt as they go down the back straight, and the big Dutchman really putting the power through the pedals. Reinhardt doing everything he can to try and get over the top. If you're going to put in a big effort, it might as well be for the win. But that's what Van Skip comes away with. 5 points for the Netherlands. Germany with 3.
That's Kojima from Japan. So they're doing really well out here. He partners up with Aya Hashimoto.
There's the change made by the Japanese team. They are the Asian Madison champions. And you can see that's the jersey they're wearing.
Different Japanese team, whoops.
And Germany now coming through on the front. And again, after the next sprint, I don't want to keep harping on it, but you can just see from the peloton how the gaps continue to open up. And for the teams that are thinking about maybe taking a lap later in the race and wanting to sit on, if you sit back too far, you end up wasting too much energy bridging all these gaps, and then you're unable to have the energy to go for the lap gain towards the end of the race. Bit of a move there from Denmark, putting the pressure onto the peloton. It was to no avail.
And so we're 146 laps to go. So we've already seen so much, but that means we're only a quarter of the way. So it's a massive, massive event, this Madison. So you can see the standings, Netherlands and the Germans both on equal points in 12. But yes, still a long way to go and anything can happen. So yeah, whilst you might have survived this far, it's still only a quarter of the way into this epic event. Here's another look at the Madison slings.
There it is.
Our Australian boys.
That's Ollie Bledden doing the sling to Blake Agnoletto. Nice calm expressions on their face as well. New Zealand doing likewise with Aaron Gate throwing in Campbell Stewart.
Want to know something funny?
Absolutely, always.
We did a body scan, and we looked at the amount of muscle we had on our bodies before we did this big training block. And then the next time I did the scan, I'd put on about 3 kilos in my upper body, and I was trying to work out what I'd done differently, and I'd done specific Madison training for that last month.
Yep.
So it just shows that bracing, the holding your teammates' hands, slinging in, it can make such a difference to your body composition. So yeah, it's not just about your legs when you're riding a bike during the Madison.
Well, at the end of every European winter 6-day season when I raced, I'd spend the next couple of months just trying to thin back down again, because I would put on exactly about that, 3 kilograms of muscle in my upper body. Big guns at the end of the European winter.
That's it.
New Zealand again in the mix here, coming around to pick up the next 5 points. Australia sitting in third, Australia second, Portugal third, and Germany across the line with the 1 point. So New Zealand, they will put themselves up into the overall lead, I think, with that sprint win.
Gap starting to form.
Equal points now. Germany and New Zealand on 13. Netherlands just 1 point behind Australia, starting to move up a little bit with some good action from them.
Gap starting to form, but the Belgians have noticed the risk, and they've closed that gap pretty quickly. The Germans look like they're on the move. Roger Kluger going off the front. Indonesian crowd enjoying the racing, trying to work out what's going on.
It would be a bit confusing for them. They wouldn't have seen Madison racing too much, but they're just excited to see an Indonesian team on the track. Let's hope that we get to see them do something a little bit later on. They have been caught down towards the back, so struggling a little bit, Indonesia, to keep up with these well-credentialed and highly experienced European, in particular, Madison riders. The New Zealanders also doing well. Aussies up there not too far behind. Portugal making a change at the bottom of the track, and they are followed now by Australia. And if they look over their shoulders, they will see that the peloton has eased off a little bit. But they haven't. They didn't look and see that they had opened up a gap. Portugal now has a look back. You can see also the Australians. Ollie Bledden coming in, and New Zealand sensed the danger, quickly closed that down. Moment of opportunity missed there by both Portugal and Australia. Not their fault, they just didn't realise that the peloton had swung up behind them. Yeah,
this is the thing. This is where it's like awareness, looking over the shoulder, always being attentive. But it's so challenging, and this is what I mean when I say that the mind has to work so much harder than the body often. You think it's physically demanding, but it's also mentally demanding.
And the deeper you go into these races as well, the more fatigued you become, the more lazy you think as well. So you really have to pay attention, especially as you get into the second half of the race. 132 laps to go. Another sprint coming up the next time around. It's Roger Kluger from Germany that's on the front. Team Bridgestone in second position. Then it's the New Zealanders. Haven't seen too much of the Netherlands. They were very prominent early on. They're out of contention for this sprint. And Reinhardt it is that goes down the back straight. Bridgestone, a Japanese trade team, in second position. Then it's New Zealand, Aaron Gate it is. But Teo Reinhardt is going to pick up the 5 points ahead of Bridgestone, New Zealand. And New Zealand's going to go on with this. So Aaron Gate, super strong Kiwi. Just put a little bit more hurt onto the peloton. And that acceleration has completely split the peloton in half. Although now they have swung up the track. That'll let everybody else to come back on.
Yep, the Germans were straight onto it, so they didn't want that to get away. Everybody's very attentive still. No one wanting anyone to leave the island.
Well, the top 5 teams in the overall standings were all in that split, so no real advantage to push on with that one that time.
Starting to group back together. Belgium on the front. Yuri Havoc, third in the elimination on night 1 here. He's on some form.
Point race world champ last year, well, current defending. So showing some real strength. And we talk about racecraft, Yuri Havoc with his experience. He's one of the best Madison riders technically in this field. Reinhardt for Germany swings up. New Zealand also up the track. The Japanese team likewise. Portugal now trying to move through. 125 laps to go. So this is when they sprint every 10 laps. 5 laps to the next sprint or 4 laps to the next bell. That's when they start to have to think about where they're going to be and where their partners are and put themselves in a good position for that sprints to come. Denmark down in 10th place overall. Only 2 points for them.
Italy's making a move around the outside. Here we go.
Big attack by the Italians, Lamont and Scartazzini. This is Scartazzini, the taller of the two riders.
Wow, he's opened up a big gap, but Roger Kluger is on the move. They're coming in for their change. Big sling with 2 laps to go till the sprint.
Lamont it is that comes onto the front, the Olympic team pursuit champion, and the gap is about to be closed down by Roger Kluger from Germany. Portugal are there, New Zealand also, and the Japanese team.
The Japanese national team.
Sound of the bell. There's been a big effort from Lamont, but the Germans did a change right behind them. So that gives Theo Reinhardt the slingshot opportunity to come up around the outside of Lamont and pick up the 5 points. Portugal will get 3. Italy do hold on for 2 points. It was a big effort from the Italians to just get the 2 points, but at least they're on the board.
Oh, we've got a fall here. Canada. Look, he's up and moving.
So just there as they come into the straight, one of the Canadian riders. Michael Foley. He looks hurt as well. So hopefully he can get himself back into the race. And unlike, you can see second from the back there is his teammate, Matthias Guillemette. And there are no laps out when one of your riders crashes in the Madison. Your partner must go into the race. If they're already in it, they have to stay in there until your partner comes back in. And you can imagine with the average speed as it is now, it's so hard to stay in the race on your own without doing these hand changes.
He's up, he's moving around. Going to make sure if he's okay, then he's going to jump back out. But, yep, visor's going back on. He's going to go join his teammate. So,
well, if he is okay, he needs to hurry up and get back into this bike race because Guillemette, his teammate, will be hurting being out there on his own while everybody else is doing hand changes, getting some recovery. He's out there on his own.
Yeah, fresh legs coming in. It's hard to compete against, especially when you come into a sprint.
There he is, Matthias Guillemette, wondering where his partner has gone and hoping that he gets out there pretty quickly.
Yep, so he's got to be surfing the wheels, trying to be as efficient as possible, trying not to do too much, sitting in there, not sitting in the wind.
Well, the one benefit now for Matthias Guillemette is that the peloton has slowed off a little bit. So the pace is backed off, so he won't be under too much pressure to stay out there for now. 113 laps to go when they come around to the finish line this time. Again, Germany right up at the pointy end. So they're riding so intelligently, the Germans.
So bit of a move from Imamura from Japan around the outside. He's riding for the Japanese national team, about to do a sling with Kuboki. So these are a pair that we haven't actually spoken much about. They were 7th at the World Championships this year. 5 times Asian national champs. So they're a really good pairing, and they've really stepped it up in the recent years in the Madison. So good to see them up in the mix.
As the peloton comes around, they'll get 111 laps to go. The next bell has been rung. And I can tell you the Canadian rider that crashed, Foley, has got back onto the track. Hopefully there he is there in the top of the back straight. But it's New Zealand that's going to pick up the points in this one. Germany again are going to be in the mix. Belgium just picking up 3rd place there, 2 points for them. So another good sprint from the New Zealand team. And once again, Germany keeping themselves right up in contention. They're not winning all the sprints, but gee, they're very consistent.
As you say this, Reinhardt has gone off the front. He's gone into the aero position. He's going to go, oh, no, he's had enough. He's looked over his shoulder. He looked like he was going to go for it. They're all swung up, but this looks like Aaron Gate is going for it too now. So he's gone to the front as they've all swung down. So everybody's interested, but nobody's getting much of a gap.
High on the track around the bend for the entire peloton there. Another change. Roger Kluger coming in. Theo Reinhardt. What a combination. It shows the experience as well and how important it is. If you can make fewer mistakes, you really have a big opportunity in a race as complicated and as technical as the Madison.
So that's the Bridgestone national team. So the other two Japanese riders. So there's, yeah, two solid teams from Japan here. So really nice opportunity to put a trade team in and make the most of this experience, having this race so close to home.
Just coming to the top of the shot there is the Canadians. They made their change really late after Foley came back onto the track. He just took way too long. Whether it was the mechanic's fault or whatever it was, they just left him off the track for too long and put too much pressure on Guillemette. And they're just about to get onto the back of the peloton, so they didn't lose a lap there. Hopefully they'll have time to recover, Guillemette in particular, and they can play a part of this race as we're getting to the halfway point. 104 laps to go as the Dutch come through on the front.
Yep, Germany on 26, New Zealand on 20, the Netherlands on 12, and Belgium on 7. So a bit of a sprint fest so far.
Yeah, no real big attacks to try and gain a lap, but definitely some tired legs out there already, and there are still so many laps to go, 103.
We're almost at the halfway point. We're not even there yet.
Well, another change for Foley. You can see the Canadian just being pushed off as the peloton goes past him. So another little bit of an issue for Michael Foley as he comes now back up onto the tracks. The Canadian's still having a little bit of bother. And a big move, big push from Aaron Gate from New Zealand. He hasn't got away from the peloton, but he's certainly stretched them out because it's the bell this time. This will signify the halfway point. 101 laps to go. New Zealand on the front, Belgium in second position. And look at Juri Harvik from the Netherlands. We saw him do this in the very first sprint. He's matched that kind of speed, popped up around the outside, and he'll be 5 points at the halfway point for the Dutch.
That's it. When you're going to go for a sprint, like you said before, you've got to make it worthwhile. So he's saw the moment. He had a good hand sling, a lot of speed, ran at the wheel, popped over the top, and took the 5 points. But here we see Portugal going on the moves. They've got a bit of a gap. They watched. They saw that Juri did go quite deep. Here comes Willem van Schip. He's got to close this gap down. Italy straight on the wheel.
Well, with the Portuguese team attacking, Juri Harvik was the first to react. Wasn't directly onto the wheel, but it is the job of the rider that does the sprint to pay attention immediately after that sprint for the counter-attacks, like we saw from Portugal then. Harvik was quick to react, and you can see how much pressure that attack from Portugal has put over everyone within the peloton.
That's it. Even though you've gone deep and you're feeling a bit like you want to recover, you've got to react quickly. Otherwise, that gap opens up too quickly, and that would be a lot more work for Willem van Schip to do. So that's it. Being attentive, reacting quickly, it just minimises everything. It's better off being there and then reassessing than sitting there and thinking about it and having to close a gap that's too big.
Well, over the halfway point now, and it's only a 3-point race between Germany and New Zealand. The Netherlands, with that 5-point gain in the previous sprint, up to 17 points. Belgium off the front now, and they sit in 4th place on 9. Then a trio down on 7, including the Australians.
So Imamura from the Japanese national team heading off the front with Belgium. So that's Hesters, known for the 6-day Madison.
Jules Hesters, yeah, the Belgian in second position. Quick look over the shoulder to see where everybody is. And two teams working hard there at the top of the screen, though. That's Theo Reinhardt from Germany, sensing the danger. And the attack from Reinhardt from the peloton has gapped everyone else. So there's a real mad scramble behind these two teams that are out in front. They will probably get caught fairly quickly now from the Germans. And another hand change out in front. They're working well together, these two. And there's Roger Kluge, now changed from Reinhardt for Germany, about to come up onto the back wheel. There'll be 5 teams out in front, including the black colours with the silver fern. That's the New Zealanders. So first and second in the overall classification are now out in front here, along with the Italians as well. Sprint lap as they come down the back straight. And Kluge straight up around the outside. It's going to be a fight for Germany and New Zealand here right down to the line. And New Zealand's going to get there. The Germans... Reinhardt came in to change right on the finish line. Kluge backed off a little bit. That allowed New Zealand to come over the top and gain the 5 points. There was a little bit of a mistake there from Germany.
Yeah, so next time you'd expect them to go a little bit faster and do that change just after finished, because you generally want to do it before the finish line, but in that situation, that's where your teammate Reinhardt, you'd want to go push a little bit further forward, get those crucial points. Given that there's 1 point in it at the moment, those points do make a difference.
And what you don't see when we focus on the peloton is the rider that's out of the race waiting to come in. If they're intelligent enough, they'll speed up or slow down to try and ensure they come in at the right time. So Teo Reinhardt, while they are leading this race, he should have sped up just that little bit more then, because tactically he should have worked out the Canadians would have popped over the top in that sprint, as they did. So there has been a bit of a regrouping of sorts. This is the back of the peloton. The Australians are caught out, the youngsters. They're back there with the Indonesian team. And it's a one-point race now. 86 laps to go. Germany and New Zealand. The Netherlands, bit of a gap back to them now, 17 points. The danger as we get this deep into the race is if any of the teams have the strength and just attack at the right time to try and take a lap on the field.
Yep, this is where it'll be a lot more likely to take a lap. When people are fatigued, they get out of position, they relax. Like, this is the type of moment when it's easier just to relax. You slowly fade back, so you've got to be switched on, ready for anything, because it's these crucial moments that the game can completely change. And
the pressure when they're in an attack does come. A lot of the teams then look to the teams like Germany or New Zealand, who have been dominating so far, to say, well, hey, you guys are in the gold and silver medal position at the moment. You're obliged to chase this. If you want to win the race, you try and bring it down, but bring it back.
Yep, so Germany on 29, New Zealand 28, Netherlands on 17. It's some pretty close racing so far.
Well, it's the first time for a while that the peloton has backed off a little bit. The average speed has dropped. It's allowed everybody just to take a big, deep breath, try and get their heart rates down. And now they'll start getting ready for the next sprint. As you can see, they're starting to string out again as Aaron Gates on the front with 82 laps to go, looking for Campbell Stewart. He's waiting in the next bend, and they'll get the bell next time for another intermediate sprint. New Zealand and Germany first and second in the overall classification here, and they'll come to the sprint with Germany now going to the final lap. Well, this particular lap, I should say, in front. Roger Kluge down the back straight. Campbell Stewart in the slipstream. Can Stewart get up to the back and around Roger Kluge? No, he cannot. So powerful sprint there from Kluge to pick up 5 points.
That's it. If Campbell thought that he could get the 5, he would have popped over the top and gone for it, but he thought it was going to be too hard to sprint for, so let's just sit in the wheels, recover, and get those 3 points. Sometimes it's a bit of a tactical decision not to go too deep.
So the Netherlands not scoring any points, and now on attack. This is what we're talking about.
New Zealand missed the change. New Zealand missed the change. They got split by the Belgians. I have to see a replay to see whose fault that was, but that is bad timing.
So a bit of a challenge for New Zealand with that issue.
So that means a double. So they're lucky they swung up. Pace has eased. Well, I wonder if we'll go back to a replay there, because that was interesting. That's rare to see. But this is when the mistakes start to happen. We're already halfway into this race. Everyone's going deep. You've got to stay switched on.
77 laps to go. The attack from Japan was short-lived.
Here we go.
And you can see there New Zealand going through the Belgians, and it's Campbell Stewart with the red number, and he does reach back to get to Aaron Gates. So they made the change, but did. Really sloppy, and the Japanese weren't able to take advantage of that with their attack, unfortunately for them. That was messy.
That was messy.
But they all stayed upright, so happy about that. No crashes there.
That's it.
There were a couple of crashes in the qualification heats of the Madison earlier today. And that's where Ollie Wood from Great Britain crashed out. You've noticed that a strong country like Great Britain not represented here in the final. That is because they did crash out in the qualifying, unfortunately. Thus far, things are going okay, except for the Canadian crash we saw earlier. And a big move from the Dutch. I was just about to mention how the Netherlands team haven't been that visible in the last couple of sprints. Well, now they're up front. They're very visible, and the Germans have seen them. They're chasing them down.
Look at the speed of Yuri Havik. He is going for it. And we have Teo Reinhardt from Germany on the chase.
As soon as the Dutch went, you could see the Germans, the gap has opened up because they did get them by surprise slightly, but as soon as they were able to react, Germany straight after them, and that has caused a lot of carnage behind. Everyone desperately sprinting now to try and catch up to these two very strong teams.
Yeah, these two are very strong. I would not be letting those two get away. They've got to close this gap and close it quickly.
On to the next sprint lap at 71 laps to go, and the win will go to the Netherlands as they go down the back straight. We can call this one nice and early because Germany haven't got up to the Dutch just yet. Change from Van Schip and Havik as they go across the line. There's 5 points for them. Germany will extend their overall lead, though, with getting 3 points. And where's New Zealand? They've been caught behind in the peloton, and the gap is starting to open up.
Yep, this is a big mistake from the Kiwi boys. They're going to have to do something quick, and it looks like Campbell is sensing this. All right, we're going back to
They were just on the move there. Now, just as we switched to camera shots there, the New Zealanders have started chasing front of the peloton. They have got together out in front, so now we've got two super strong teams working together against the entire field to try and gain a lap and get the 20 points that are on offer for doing so. New Zealand desperately scrambling at the front of the peloton to try and bring this back.
Yeah, so this is where it gets tricky. So you have two dominant teams out the front. They want to get away. They want to have this advantage. So they're going to work together. It's going to be smooth and it's going to be efficient. So they're going to make up their time quickly. Back in the peloton, you have too many people. So some people want to work, some people don't. So that creates hesitation. But it does look like we have a trio forming of the Italians, New Zealand, and Belgians. So this is good. This is good for the chase. If they can get together and work, they have a lot greater chance of coming back to the Netherlands and the German combination.
Two teams out in front trying to work together, just getting a little bit messed up as they come past a couple of lap teams then. Then three teams chasing. How well are they working together? Is the advantage still for the two in front or the three that are chasing? That's the question. Group of five now forming behind the Germans and the Dutch out in front. So you can see strewn out all over the track now, but these are the leaders in the race, the leaders on the track at the moment. Germany swing up and let the Netherlands through.
This is where we said the damage was going to be done. So 63 laps to go, and there are people everywhere. So once the Netherlands put in that big attack, the peloton has been torn to shreds. So we have the two Netherlands and the Germans out in front. There is a group of five that has gotten together now. So there's the Kiwis, Belgians, Danish, Italians. There is the Japanese Bridgestone team and the Japanese national team that's just about to get onto the back. So if they can get together and work hard.
And a bell lap now. Another lap for another points for the two teams out in front. And they've got messed up and caught up with a group of riders that have been caught. But this is Roger Kluger, Germany and the Netherlands. They'll come around to pick up another 5 points and 3. So 5 for the Germany, 3 points for the Netherlands. And they're not too far from seeing the back of the peloton, which is being led by New Zealand, but the advantage definitely with these two strong, powerful teams out in front for now.
That's it. So as the sprint happened, the Canadians unfortunately did come down, so they're okay. They're on the infield again. So it's all getting quite messy. But yes, our chase group did get mixed up amongst some other people, and so it hasn't been quite efficient, which means that it's the advantage to the Netherlands and the Germans. So they look like they've got about a third of a lap to go before they're going to make contact with the back of the main bunch.
Steep learning curve for the Canadian team here in the Track Nations Cup in Jakarta. Madison, it's very hectic. Really have to stay focused and concentrated. But Germany, 42 points now, leading New Zealand. The Netherlands starting to move up by being out in the front here and picking up points in all these intermediate sprints. And they're not too far from getting to the back of the peloton and gaining a lap.
Yep, so the ones that have missed out here are the New Zealanders. So they are in the main bunch, so they're going to have to try and get away on their own and try and get a lap to be in contention if these two teams make it onto the back of this group.
55 laps to go now for these riders as they go across the line. Juri Harvik leads Roger Kluger, the Netherlands and Germany. Canada just coming off the race and abandoning.
Yep, they had a good crack, those guys. They really did it tough, leaving one of their riders out there for so long. But yeah, enough is enough. Time to go back and make sure that everyone's okay.
Yeah. So we can confirm, we look down the inside, that the Canadians have withdrawn from the race after the second crash for them, unfortunately. And Germany and the Netherlands not desperately trying to get to the back of the peloton because they know that there are points to be gained in these next bunch of intermediate sprints. They'll get 20 points for taking a lap anyway, but it does appear that they are content as they come across the line here to not get to the back of the peloton just yet and try and gobble up the next intermediate sprint.
Yep, so as they come around at half a lap to go and they'll get the bell, they'll try and go for those sprints and then they will jump onto the back. So 5 points up for grabs, that's pretty significant when it comes down to the overall placings.
Well, up to this point, it was a pretty even contest between Germany and New Zealand, but the Germans are absolutely in control. Juri Harvik just pops up around the outside to pick up the 5 points. Doesn't matter too much to Roger Kluger. And that's the front of the peloton going down the back of the peloton going down the back straight. As they come across the finish line, there's the New Zealanders. They are the big losers from that lap gain because the German team and the Dutch team have just latched onto the back of the peloton, so they have been declared a lap gain, so they'll both get 20 points added to their tally. And the Netherlands will jump over the top of New Zealand and go into the silver medal spot. Germany, they have just opened up a massive points advantage. Another big attack coming, though. This is where the opportunity comes. A team we haven't seen too much of from Denmark. A little bit further down in the standings, taking their time now to try and get in a lap and pick up the 20 points.
Yep, that's a big move from the youngsters. So the combination of Hansen and Skivelt. So they are doing what the girls did yesterday. So Guillemette and Amelie de Dirksen, they took a lap in earlier stages of the race and then they sprinted their way to gold. So these Danish, the Danish are very known for taking laps in Madison's. So very big move from the young boys. I love to see a young team taking on a race.
They only have 2 points to their tally at this point of the race. But if they can gain 20, they'll move up to 4th place overall. So they'll go from 10th to 4th if they can complete this circle and get a lap on the field. Just starting to ease a little bit now, about a third of a lap in front of the peloton. 44 laps to go. The next sprint's not too far away, so the average speed of the peloton, it will increase pretty soon. The Danes, if they want to gain their lap, they need to do it really quickly.
Yep, so the Germans and the Netherlands, they're not too fussed about this move. They're comfortable up there, but the ones that are going to miss out are between 3rd and 5th or so. They're the ones that are going to be leapt over if these Danish boys make this lap. So that's on them to start the chase. You can see the Netherlands are tucked in there. They're about 5th wheel back.
Lead is growing. The lead is definitely growing now. The Danes doing a good job, riding good tempo out in front, and it's more so the peloton slowing down rather than the Danes speeding up. But that's about to change because they'll come around for the bell. 5 points up for the next lap for Denmark. They can look across and see the back of the peloton. That's what they're trying to get to, but they know there's going to be an acceleration now back in the main field for the points that are still on offer. 3, 2 and 1 will go to the peloton, but the 5 points, they're out the front here with Denmark. He gets across the line. The scramble behind will be taken by Portugal, just over the top of New Zealand. Portuguese team doing really well. They was in 7th place, only on 7 points, but they picked up another couple there, so that's good for their tally.
Yep, so that was Tobias Hansen has just been slung in.
And you can see how much the gap came down just from the acceleration from the peloton in that sprint.
Yep, then now it went from being a half a lap to about a straight. So this will be good motivation for the Kiwis who are chasing them down. As they swing up. Jesper,
Tobias Hansen is in the race for Denmark right now. And you can see there's a real acceleration from Hansen. I think Skiveld is his teammate. And I think it's Hansen that seems to really be able to... This is Skiveld that's come in now. And we get a good indication from the body language and the pedal speed as to whether he continues to open up the gap or not. Because Hansen looks really strong when he's in the race.
Yeah, Skiveld looks like he's suffering, but they are gaining space again. It's back out to half a lap. So Roger Kluge, he's gone off the front again.
Oh, he's down the back straight. Kluge just about to come up to the Indonesian team and take a lap out of them. So around the outside, New Zealand scrambling to chase after Germany, but the points that they're down now, 65, 50 and 36, the top 3 teams. Another change from the Danes. Skiveld comes in, or Hansen, I should say. Tobias Hansen, the Omnium winner from yesterday. And they are 33 and a half laps to go. So they'll come around this time for 33 laps. And the peloton does seem to have just settled down a little bit.
Yeah, there's a sense of calm again. Gets a bit hectic, but now they've all bunched back up. Some people have been lapped, some people are a lap ahead, but they're all back together as our Italians move to the front. So this is, what's the gap, about half a lap still? So they're still hanging out there. There's 2 laps to the next sprint, so this will be important points for the Danish pair, but they really need this lap. They'll jump from 7 points to 12 points, but when those big numbers up there, they're going to have to get this lap if they want to move into the bronze.
31 laps to go. Denmark will hold on for another 5 points, but there's an acceleration back on the main field, and it's that team, Germany. They are chasing down now, and you can see Skiveld really starting to struggle. They've been out for a long time, and the race to this point has been so hard, really tough to try and gain a lap on the field from teams a peloton that's been led by a team like Germany. So Germany come across the line for 3 points in second place.
Ooh, Japanese national team.
Really tight down the back straight through a few of the teams. And another change. Hansen comes in again. And they are only about 30 metres off the front of the lone Germans now. So Germany have gapped themselves from the rest of the field. And at this point, Nettie, you start to think they'll come around to get 28 laps to go. Germany have been so strong. They are in absolute control here. They've gone off the front, and you have to start to think that New Zealand, Belgium, Netherlands, are they all just starting to think about the silver and bronze medals now?
Well, what wasn't shown on the camera just then was that the Japanese national team from second wheel almost missed their change. They swung straight up the track and meant everybody go up. So that's why there is a big gap now between the Germans and the rest of the field. The Germans have just made contact with the Danish and have gone straight around, but that big mistake from the Japanese has actually put the Dutch in a bad position because their opponents, the Germans, have just gone off the front. So you can see Yuri Havik going across now. He's got the Japanese national team on his wheel, so if they can work together and bridge across, then they might be up for another lap. So no, I think to answer your question, I don't think they're satisfied with silver and bronze. I think they're going for it.
There was a big desperate move from the Dutch then. New Zealand now also scrambling to try and get up to the men in orange. Still the two out in front, Germany and Denmark. Netherlands chasing them down, Bridgestone just behind them, and New Zealand in the black colours at the back of this group now. It's about to all come back together in the front.
It was a big move by the Danish team because they were overtaken, but they fought hard to get back on that wheel, so they're back in contention. So now they're still out in front. So there's a group of 4 now. The Kiwis are just joining, so there'll be a group of 5 soon. So that attack has been, what's the word? Soothed.
Neutralised, basically, yeah. The big favoured teams are all out together out in front. So who really wants to push it on? Who really needs to? Well,
Belgium.
I think Bridgestone does, really. Bridge out in front. It is Bridgestone that is really pushing forward.
And the
Kojima
Kiwis.
and Hashimoto.
Yep, and the Kiwis. Because Belgium have missed out. So Belgium are in 4th at the moment, and they have missed this break. So yes.
21 laps to go. Roger Kluger again for Germany on the front. Hashimoto sitting in second position for Team Bridgestone. The Danes just trying to hold on. The acceleration for this sprint is putting the breakaway group in a bit of trouble. So another 5 points go to Germany. I don't think they needed it, but they're just too good tonight. They are absolutely dominating this race. Change from Bridgestone just in behind them, and a scramble behind to just come back up to the Germans once again. Netherlands picking up 2 points for third place across the line.
So 19 laps to go. So it's starting to settle down. It's looking a little bit safer for the Kiwis now. So it was a bit risky out there when the Danish boys were half a lap up, but it's now come back. So there's a big gap to the Belgians, 20 points. So the Belgians are going to have to do something special to get across to this group and get off the front. So here we have pressure going down by Campbell Stewart on the front of this smaller group.
And look at the back in the red and white colours. Denmark really having to grit the teeth to just stay out there in this front group. When they attacked, they were in 10th position on 2 points. They're now up into 5th. So this has been a great move for Denmark.
It certainly has. They're at 20 and 21 years of age. They're very, very young against some very experienced riders. So they didn't sit there and let the others do the work. They decided, you know what, we're going to take it on. We'd missed the move earlier on, but now we're going to go for it. So they've gone for it, but they're starting to pay for it. And this is when they're going to have to, they'll make a lot of gains in their learning. So learning under pressure, making decisions when you're fatigued, it's so cool to see them having a crack.
2 sprints to come. It's 15 laps to go, and it does look like this group now out in front are going to take the lap on the field. There's still a little bit of track to close down, but I don't think there's enough strength left in the peloton to accelerate and keep this breakaway group at bay.
Nope, it looks like this is going to come back, which means that each team out of this group of 5 are going to get 20 points when they make contact, so 13 laps to go. I think it's very likely, but then the gaps are quite big, so it's looking like the Germans are on track for a goal. We've got Netherlands in the silver position and the Kiwis in 3rd.
They have to stay upright. That's the one thing that could bring them undone so far. The experience of the German team has been exceptional. And there's been a big acceleration from the peloton by Portugal. And then there's the Danish team down the back straight. They are the first of the breakaway group, just coming towards the back of the peloton. They're about to make a change, Denmark. It's 11 laps to go for them. It's another sprint point, and Skibble it is from Denmark that will lead into this sprint lap. Being chased down, though, by both New Zealand and the Netherlands, and this could get really tight between them as they get to the Danish rider. Yuri Harvik from the Netherlands will pick up the 5 points. Will he continue straight onto the back of the field? And that will be the determining factor in a lap being taken by that breakaway group.
Yep, so they have just made contact, which means that all of those 5 teams will get 20 points added to their tally, so their numbers are going to go up. We have Portugal now in the lead from the bunch, so they are about 2/3 of a lap up, and we have... Here's Portugal. Here's a shot of Portugal. So the Italians out of shot. They're in pursuit, and then there's a bit of a gap back to the Belgians. So they're not going down without a fight.
Portugal will come around to get 7 laps to go. There they go through the bottom of the screen, and they're almost around to the back of the peloton. So a late attack from Portugal, and I think they're about to get a lap gain if they continue at this speed. So they are the leaders on the track now that the breakaway group has gained a lap on the peloton. They all received another 20 points. That's what Portugal's hunting down right now. They sit in 8th place on 10 points, and they're not too far from getting to the back of the peloton. That's the chase group behind Portugal, Italy and Belgium, and just behind them is New Zealand. So this is a really important move by New Zealand very late in the race to try and pick up some points right at the very end.
It's a great move because if there's 5 laps to go, if the Belgians and the Italians take a lap, then it can get close again. So the best form of defence is attack. So we have the boys heading off. They've just taken a lap, but they've got a little... Oh, they've just missed a change. I'm not sure if you saw at the top of the screen. That is going to cost them. They had so much momentum, but there's only 4 laps to go, and there's a big gap if they want to take this to get this lap.
3 to go for Portugal, the leaders on the track at the moment, sitting down in 8th place overall, but they are trying to still gain their lap on the field. That might be determined now because they've just got to a group at the top of the screen. They are coming around to get 3 laps to go. There's a mad scramble behind Italy, New Zealand, Belgium, Germany, and also the Netherlands. So getting really messy down here towards the end. 2 laps to go. And they have been given the lap up. So Portugal have gained a lap, and now the leaders of the race are Germany in this group that we're looking at here. Germany, the Netherlands, and Italy. Final sprint about to happen. Double points, 10 laps on offer. It's not going to matter to Germany. They have absolutely masterclassed this race. They will come away with the win. So fantastic performance for Germany, Netherlands, and New Zealand. Gold, silver and bronze was predetermined before they come into that final sprint. There was such a mad scramble. The entire race is blown to pieces. But the best on the day, Team Germany. Roger Kluge and Theo Reinhardt, that was a masterclass.
Wow. Wow. And sit back and relax. Geez, 200 laps. That was epic. Good work by the Germans. There was a bit of a mix-up just at the end, and the Netherlands and the Germans hit across to that smaller group, and the others just decided, you know what, we're done. We can't change the result with this final sprint, even though there were double points on the final. So this is the final standings. We have the Germans on 99 points, Netherlands 77, New Zealand on 61, and the young Danish team coming in a beautiful 4th place. I think they'll be happy with.
Now, I think with Portugal, because they did give the 6 points to Germany for the final sprint, so I think Portugal were not quite determined as a lap up. They didn't catch this group, obviously, but they did catch a fairly large group, but wasn't determined to be the peloton itself. So Portugal getting the last sprint and the double points, but not the lap gain. They'll finish in 6th place overall. But what a dominant performance it was from Germany. Seemed really tight, really close early on, and then as the race went on, the Germans just took more control and completely dominated.
That's it. So the first half of the race was relatively simple. It was just going after sprints, but then as people got more and more fatigued, then the laps started to come. So when they went for it, they just went like a freight train. There's no stopping this combination of Roger Kluge and Theo Reinhardt. So 2 times world champion in the past. They know what they're doing. They were 8th at the World Champs this year, though, so I think they're going to come back swinging in this season. So the World Championships are in August this year, and this will be major qualification points for the Olympic Games next year. So pats all round. Great work by all the teams. It was a pretty good racing out there.
Absolutely, and we saw the Netherlands coming away with the silver medal. That was Yuri Harvik and Jan-Willem van Schip, and New Zealand, Campbell Stewart and Aaron Gate with the bronze medal. Denmark. Courageous effort from the youngsters, gaining a lap on the field. They finished on 34 points in the end, Denmark, in 4th place. And this is
The final sprint.
coming around after the final sprint. Victory salute. Now, yesterday, in the Omnium, I was a little bit critical of Roger Kluger. He was fairly way down in the standings overall. I thought I was questioning his form. Sorry, Rog. You're going okay.
Yeah. He knows what he's doing. I think, whether he made a couple of mistakes in the Omnium or whether he was going to put the eggs into this one, who knows. But whatever he did, it worked today. So great work by the German pairing.
Handshake from Theo Reinhardt to Campbell Stewart, and conceding that the best team won on the night. So that was a real battle between them, but it was the German team, the 2-time world champions, now winning here in Jakarta as well. What a fantastic and dominant performance it was from Theo Reinhardt and also Roger Kluger. Let's go down and talk to our champions.
Congratulations on winning the UCI Track Nations Cup here in Jakarta, Indonesia. Test. Congratulations on winning the UCI Track Nations Cup in Jakarta, Indonesia. Tell us how it feels like to win.
Yeah, very good feeling. It was not an easy week. We had sickness in the team, and it was a very hard week. So we are very proud that we can win that last race, and it's a big sign for us, so we are very happy.
It's been a phenomenal race for the both of you. Maybe tell us about your strategy, the key moment for you guys in the race today.
The key moment coming first with this was when the Dutchies attacked, that we were immediately able to follow. Before we took here and then points, not really offensive from the beginning, but we tried to grab a few points, and if we could for big points, we went. So we were actually in a comfortable position, and then after we could follow the move, it was the winning key more or less, and there we had the race in our hand, and we could really control it, and even had something left in the end. So we're pretty happy to go home like this.
Congratulations and enjoy the rest of the day.
Well, that was fascinating to hear just how they went through the race and still had the legs to go with it at the end. So truly a dominant performance from Theo and Roger. 97 points in the end for them. The Netherlands, they had spurts throughout the race and in the end desperately need to go and get the lap as they did. New Zealand, they fought hard, just missed the move from Germany and Netherlands. That's what cost them a higher placing, but bronze medal at the Nations Cup, great performance from them. And you can see the field further down, the minus...